All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the H&M Sports Academy. Once again, I am Mo. I am accompanied here today by my cohort Harry, and together we are the H&M Sports Academy. Welcome to our show this evening. Welcome to the beginning of the week, another football week. In the backdrop, we have some Major League Baseball playoffs. We have the NBA getting started with preseason games. Lakers got a little action. So we got a lot of sports. This is why I was meant to be in October, baby, because I'm wired for this time of year. This is what sports is. This is the best month of the year. You got everything kind of converging. So starting to get into the meat of the schedule with the NFL. And the Chicago Bears were on a bye this week,
Yeah.
but the Dallas Cowboys were not. They were on the road this week, and they went on a trip up to New York to MetLife Stadium to play the New York Jets. And we're going to be recapping that game as the Cowboys go in and defeat the New York Jets 37 to 22.
Yeah.
And we'll recap this, get into some details about this particular game. I would be remiss though if I didn't start without mentioning once again our Navy midshipmen, Roll Goats. We go in and host the Air Force Academy,
Yeah.
and we take care of business. We are now 5-0, undefeated on the season. A very high scoring and exciting game. Well, you know about a quarterback going for 330 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 130 yards rushing. No one
That
has
kid
done
is
that
so
stat.
talented.
No one has
He's
done
so
that.
talented. He's so talented,
So
man.
talented, man. So
Yeah.
talented. And the only person who's done that in recent is some guy by the name of Jaden Daniels in his Heisman Trophy candidate
hmm
campaign season in 2023. That's the type of company we're talking about with
Right.
our quarterback, Blake Horvath. And so this guy's putting up big numbers. We're not going to go too far into the Navy rabbit hole because we could talk all day about it, but I had to give a shout out to my mids. Here to go. Let's go. So,
Yeah. It is. There we go.
um, good game here for the Cowboys. Trying to get back to 500 after a tie last week, playing the Green Bay Packers, who are also on a bye this week, along with Chicago. So you had two teams in the NFC North that were on a bye this week. And so the Bears were off. We're covering the Cowboys versus the Jets road trip. And the backdrop for this game had a couple of things going on. Number one, we wanted to see if the Cowboys would be able to come back in after a very emotional game and play well against a team that they were probably favored to win on the road,
Yeah.
as well as the backdrop of injuries. You're talking about your starting center gone, your starting right guard gone, your starting left guard was slated to start, but he was dealing with some tendonitis issues, gone. Your starting left tackle gone with
Right.
a concussion. So you're talking about four starters on the offensive line. You're talking about C.D. Lamb, an all-pro receiver. You're also talking about Cavante Turpin, your do-it-all kick returner and Swiss Army knife as far as the offense is concerned. Gone, gone, gone.
hmm
So that's your backdrop, and the Cowboys are on the road playing in MetLife against a hungry uh, New York Jets team who's really desperate for a win, and that's the backdrop that you have going into this game. So, Harry,
Yeah.
hopefully you had a great weekend. I can promise you this: the Bears did not lose this week.
No. We kicked the hell out of the bye. So, we attacked the bye. We jumped on them early. Got out of there by the third quarter. We icing knees and elbows and shoulders, man.
I love it.
Eating
I
seeds.
absolutely love
Eating
it.
seeds.
You probably got to help you. But I'll tell you a quick story. There was a basketball tournament, one of them 3-on-3 tournaments that you have. You know what I'm saying? So you
Yeah.
create your team name,
Yeah.
and one of them 6 foot and under tournaments.
Right.
So you got a team that's getting ready to play in the semifinal game,
Mhm.
and everyone's looking at them. They don't have one good player on their team, and everyone's like, "How the hell did they make it to the semifinals and uh, and not get knocked off? Why? Their team name, Bye. Yo, they put down Bye on every game, and nobody showed up.
Showed up.
And they kept winning by default. Got all the way to the semifinal on that BS, man.
Oh man, hook or crook, you gotta
Anyway.
get it done, man.
Hey,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
I'm
for it.
I'm pulling out my notepad from our last conversation, and I'm gonna pat my own back. I'm gonna reach over here. I ain't stretched it enough. I told you it wasn't gonna be close. I told you,
You did. I was of little faith. You said it wasn't gonna be close.
Yeah, I just couldn't see it, and Cowboys struggling to generate pressure. And at the end of our conversation, the last time we were just kind of on the preview, I was saying, this is a game where you guys can really look to Flus. If he's worth his salt, he's gonna get that going. And I thought, he delivered. I want to see you guys have 5+ sacks or so, tons of pressure on Justin on Justin Fields. I call him QB1. And at the end of the day, his process is a little bit slow. So you mix a lead with taking that run game away. I had chunk plays, right? You guys were giving up some chunk plays through the air. Then I had run fits. I thought your run fits struggled a little bit. Brees Hall had a really big run. I think it was a turning play of the game, actually. And you guys were up, I want to say 10-3. They were driving. He breaks through for like a 15, 20-yard gain. And you guys punched the ball out and took the ball away. And from there, it kind of snowballed on them. But I felt like the Jets, they were able to run the ball a little bit too easily. And I think that'll get shored up here soon. You can't correct everything. No game is perfect. So I don't want to, dwell on that too much. But I really like what I saw from the defense and being able to get back to your identity. We talked about tackling, which I thought was you guys. I saw Wilson coming up in the hole, man, and really making some nice hits. And Flus talked about the guy. I forget is it Lofo, whatever his name is. He's like the king of the peanut punch. And,
Maris Leopold.
Leopold, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah,
he was flying around making plays, and then just overall on offense, it was what I expected. I was really surprised, but I was really surprised by two players. I'm gonna call out and kind of highlight. I think Flournoy played a great game, number 19 for you guys.
Yep, Flournoy.
Flournoy, I thought he played very well. And then I got to tip my hat, man, to Javonte Williams, man. I thought he played a hell of a game
every week, man.
Yeah, the bell cow. He pretty much, that run before the half was amazing. That's stolen money. You put it in the bank, and got a chance to double dip that chip, right? Score right before the half, get the ball right back. I don't think you guys scored right after the half, but you gave yourself an opportunity. So, all in all,
we'll definitely get into that sequence of events and kind of break that down here quickly. So, great synopsis. I think you really covered down on some of the big points there, and you were correct. The Cowboys and their operation was just a little bit too much for the Jets, who are trying to find their way with a young quarterback. But I can tell you this though. We've talked about Justin Fields a lot, and we've talked about his maturity and stuff, and he seems like a great guy, seems like he wants to be a leader, but the reality is if you're at year 4 or 5, and it's tough because he's had multiple offensive coordinators, he's been in different teams, different systems and stuff that he's had to be a part of, but at some point, he has to be the reason why the system stays the same and is stable, and he just has struggled to, like you said, slow processor, and this game moves way too fast to be in that position. And I think that's what it really boils down to. He just was not able to. Our defense is clearly not great, the Cowboys, but he was not able to exploit the defense in any capacity. And I think that was one of the big keys. So I definitely have some points to discuss in this game, just some things that I observed as well. But let's jump into the first quarter. Cowboys win the toss. They defer and decide they will kick off. They start off, and the Jets kind of get to work. They start to run the football. They're physical up front. Brees Hall's an excellent runner, and they're moving the ball, and they kind of possess the clock. And I just, started looking. I was like, okay, here we go for one of these games where
Yeah.
the defense has to be able to get off the field. And this is the one thing I said: if the Jets were going to win, they're going to have to control the game, control the clock, and keep the
Right.
Cowboys off the field on offense and put up points, obviously. So they get the ball, they move, they drive, and get three. But honestly, they got down to the goal line and really kind of self-destructed. I mean, they just had kind of 2 steps forward, 2 steps back type situation, and they really could have gotten in. So I give the Cowboys defense credit for not letting them get over the goal line and fighting.
You guys actually got hosed on that because there was a pass that went off of I want to say Fowler's face mask helmet, bounces right up and hits the damn webcam or whatever that is. I don't know what you call it. Not the webcam, it's Skycam.
The Skycam, the 4K Skycam. Yeah.
And the refs missed it, and the replay booth missed it. That was supposed to be a replay or a redo of the downs, and it just kind of they let play continue. But end of the day, that hurt you because I thought that was going to be an interception. They were tracking that ball, and it went backward, right? So just unfortunate.
Yep. Yeah, tough breaks there, but when you're trying to win a game, it's that early. You gotta kind of snub your nose and move on because there's a lot more plays ahead of you than behind you, and you can't afford to wallow in it. And they didn't. I give the defense credit; they fought and hung in there, and really a drive that they just kind of had control, and they hold them to 3, and then Cowboys get on offense. That gets to work and starts to move the ball, establish some things, and Flournoy is cooking. So the backdrop that you have here, you have an all-pro cornerback, Ahmad Sauce Gardner, along with a top-notch number 1 receiver in George Pickens. And with CeeDee Lamb out, the idea for the Jets was, hey, let's make the Cowboys play left-handed, if you will, and let's make sure that we travel Gardner with Pickens and see if we can put him in the seatbelt, on witness protection. So Dak has to decide if he's going to keep forcing it in or trying to, force feed Pickens amongst tight coverage, or if he's going to try to execute the offense and see whatever is out there with a bunch of young guys or less experienced guys. You got Florida, who doesn't have a lot of experience. He was a rookie last year, playing special teams mostly, and then you have Hobart, who's got some solid experience. And that's really it. Besides Ferguson, so you're really trying to run the offense through those guys, and they're your main guys to do so. And Dak's doing it, but Dak's been a different quarterback now. It used to be that he needed a lot of talent around him, and he was able to function with that talent and hold his own and so forth. But he's no longer being pulled by the truck. He's pulling the truck.
He's a force amplifier now. He's what you call
a force multiplier at this time. And so now, you're looking at a situation where you don't have all your horses, but Dak is showing that he can do so. And I'll certainly get into some of that as we move along. But they tied up 3-3, and because the Jets had the ball so long, that kind of kills a quarter. The first quarter was kind of slow, fast moving, slow action. To just 3-3. It looks like a kind of a slugfest of a game. And for me, looking at that, I'm like, man, this is not the way I want to see this game go, because I feel like the more possessions the Cowboys had, the better they are, because they have the better quarterback and the better, play calling system, stuff like that. And so just kind of slowing it down, it didn't look good to me.
It's a victory too. We talked about them trying to, their best defense was offense, keeping you guys off the field. So at that point they had sucked up, pretty much a whole quarter. And each
Yep.
team that took the ball, maybe I want to say it was at 3 possessions total at that point. So,
Yep.
yeah.
And that was it. So then you kind of get into the middle of the second quarter, and you have a situation where the Cowboys and the Jets are going to exchange punts, and then the Cowboys get the ball, and they move down the field, and they put together a very nice drive, and it's a long drive. They're pinned back, and they go down and they drive, and basically Dak is just dealing. He's dealing. He's hitting Flournoy. I think he had a free play with a penalty, and then he hit Flournoy down the field and got in position. Then they eventually run a nice screen to Ferguson, and Ferguson, who all of a sudden was on a witness protection program when it came to getting in the end zone. All of a sudden he's like moving, and he's got 2 touchdowns in 2 weeks. Now he's dancing, and feeling good. So Cowboys go up 10-3 off of a beautiful play, and so it's looking like second quarter is kind of moving along.
Hold on, that was a 13-play, 85-yard drive, 6 minutes and 10 seconds. So a lot of what I call, and this is what I loved about the offense on that drive, was just the run game and the play action. I thought was mixed in very well, and that screen was so well timed, man. It came out of an I formation, kind of a condensed formation, and they invited all those defensive linemen in. Ferguson catches it. He breaks one arm tackle. I don't think he get touched the rest of the way. So great play call for Shoddy.
Great play call for Shoddy. He's really showing that he has quite a bag when it comes to making the offense look the same, but running different things from it, or making it look different but running the same things from it, and really kind of keeping that defense off balance. And you have to do that when you're talking about a team that has literally a 7th rounder, a 6th rounder, an unrestricted free agent, and an unrestricted free agent at your offensive line.
Right.
Like literally, you're talking about a whole starting lineup of players that were all backups and so forth. But the one thing that the Dallas Cowboys have done well, as far as, and they've done some other things well, but one of the things they've done well is they've drafted and developed their offensive line, and they put a lot of capital into drafting, not just the first round pick guys, but later round pick guys as well. And so the Cowboys actually had a surplus. They sent one of their better offensive linemen. He was a backup, but they sent him over to the New Orleans Saints, not because they didn't like him, but they didn't see any playing time for the guy.
Yeah, they don't have enough minutes for him.
They don't have any minutes for him, and they already had multiple backups. And one of the other backups played better than him and kind of took his position, and we weren't upset. So the point of the matter is there a team? You look at the Los Angeles Chargers. Like right now, they are in trouble.
Right.
With their offensive line. They have some injuries up front, and they can't find offensive linemen right now.
Becton, Joe Alt, down, and then they fall back to earth. 3 weeks ago, they looked
unbeatable,
and the life of the NFL, man. Some injuries, and all of a sudden, Justin Herbert, they can't keep him upright, and or he's thrown under duress, so they can't run the football, and then they lose Hampton, right? So
that's right.
We can talk all day about just injuries again, not an excuse. Just the facts of how it changes your season, right?
It is.
Throughout the year. Yeah.
It is. And it's certainly something I want to speak on as we get later on in this cast here about how you put your team together and the importance of it. But the Cowboys, with their depth, was able to continue to move the ball against a very solid and strong New York Jets front. I mean, they got an All-Pro at Quentin Williams there. McDonald is also a high draft pick coming off the edge. They got some dudes up front that can play, and you're talking about a team full of backups and secondary players, and Dak Prescott managed to make it work. So it's 10-3, and the Jets have the ball in the second quarter, And like you
Yeah.
just talked about, that drive was long. So time is kind of bleeding in the second quarter the same way it did in the first quarter, except the Cowboys were controlling that clock. But the
Yeah.
Jets have a drive of their own. They're moving and they're driving, and now Brees Hall breaks away, and they're basically heading down and looking like they're getting ready to punch it in themselves. They got a beautiful drive going, and they're like down with a run, getting down to what, the 15-yard line or so.
Yeah, it's Brees Hall, and the reason why was, we always working, man. Even when I'm watching, I'm working. Brees Hall,
Yeah.
the Jets having such a terrible year. The Bears rushing attack, our running back situation has been light, and we got some guys identified, Kamara in New Orleans, and then Brees Hall, in New York, and
Dallas did too.
Yeah, so I'm watching them, and I'm like, man, maybe before this week, this week 6 trade deadline, maybe he's the guy the Jets are willing to come up off of. And man, I see your boy with all that flowing hair punch that ball out, and I'm like, nope, I don't want this guy. So,
no, let me tell you, man. That's the one thing. The Jets have very few interceptions thrown, right? But the issue they have is the fumbles. They have 7 lost fumbles this year, and that's a big number. And Brees Hall has fumbled. And the bad part about it is, after he gets the peanut punch and he fumbles, then he lays down on the carpet and then pretends like it's injured and limps off to the sideline, with the bum shoulder and stuff.
Hey, I start praying to the football guys. I'm sorry, Swifty. I'm sorry. Lord, forgive me for my sins. I do not know what I do, man. This Brees Hall guy, man.
I couldn't believe it, bro. I was like, look, but I always say, look, when you're just on football, anytime when you're on offense and you see some guys on defense, if you see a bunch of dudes with dreads and flowing locks, you got a problem.
Oh man, he's a funny looking guy too, man. If you ever see him he looks like a dinosaur or something, man. He's so bowled up with all these muscles, and he's a great runner. All jokes aside, like you said, it's just the ball security is an issue, and that was a play where he popped through there, and to me it was the game shifting play, because instead of the Jets, which we talked about being able to stay on schedule, right, and kind of keep the game 10-10, they could continue to hide Justin Fields a little bit more and keep him from where you having to, throw the football, and that shifted when you guys went to the next sequence, which is, I'll let you get into it. So you guys take over around the 10-yard line or so. Yeah. With about, I want to say it was probably less than a minute 40, minute 50. It wasn't a lot of time on the clock. And you guys take over, 90 yards away. So go ahead. I'll let you pick it up there.
Yeah. So here you are. At this point, the Cowboys are looking, okay, we avoid the 10-10 situation. And you're thinking, okay, this is the middle 8 that everyone talks about. The last 4 minutes of the second quarter and the first of the third, and that's where people feel like these games can be won or lost, the middle 8, right? And so the Cowboys avoid the tie with the punch out, and now they're looking in a situation where they're saying, hey, if we can just get down here and at least get 3, then we're in a good spot. We get down here and get 3, going to halftime, we're up by double digits. Yeah. And we're in a good spot. But the team starts to move the ball, they start to flow, they start to get going, start to get some chunk plays, and the next thing you know, Flournoy is getting another big play. And then you're talking about boom, the Cowboys are down there ready to score, and they do. And instead of it going to 13-3, it's 17-3, and it feels totally different. And at this point, you're kicking back off and just saying, hey, just keep them from getting anywhere, keep them from getting into the end zone. And we get out of here 17-3, feeling really good, about the second quarter and going into the third quarter because the Cowboys deferred and they get the ball back the second half, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you kick the ball off to the Jets, and they're so darn inept that they go 3-and-out.
Right.
Okay, they go 3-and-out, and the Cowboys are looking at a situation where they're like, "Well, hold up, we can get this thing back again."
Right.
So then you get the ball back, and at this point, you're definitely happy to get a field goal. You'll take anything at this point. This is just gravy. It's all gravy. You're up 17-3.
Yeah.
And you're just looking for gravy. And all of a sudden, Dak is just going to hand this thing off to Javonte Williams. And Javonte Williams finds a hole. The Clayton Adams domination of the offensive line and coaching continues. And he just puts together a beautiful sequence. The only person that's in Javonte Williams' way is his own lineman. He has to knock Nate Jones out the way, and he's off to the races again. Yeah. So now you look, he breaks on a long run, and all of a sudden the Cowboys are back down at the end zone, at the goal line in the red zone again. Yeah. And they have an opportunity to really put a hammer down on this game. And you go back to Ferguson again, and he's wide open.
And I'm gonna pause you here. Effectively, you gave us a great stat last pod when we talked about just third down efficiency and just the inner workings of how it looked ominous in the final stats, but in reality, it was actually an improvement. Justin Fields, QB1, is 0-26 as a starter when the opponent scores over 21 points. So with that touchdown, you basically won the game.
Won the game
right there.
And there have been games where Justin Fields' offenses have scored over 21 and lost. It wasn't like if you score 21, he can't get to 21. But anytime it's a shootout type of game where the other team can score at least 21 points, he usually ends up running out of gas or faltering down the stretch, and they end up not being able to pull it out.
I saw the stat, and I couldn't believe it. There's moments, and that was kind of his MO. As a Bears fan, we lost a lot of what I call, I felt like close games with Justin at the helm, and we'll talk about this too. You end up pulling up his stat line at the end of the game, and you just like, how? It's almost a conundrum that I think I figured it out, and I think you figured it out as to the why, because it's the inefficiencies and it's so many. It's coming in garbage time, so the end numbers look great, but in game and the results and the production of what you're doing, to win a game, it just doesn't it doesn't mesh, it doesn't go well, and that's why he ends up on the short end of the stick. The check downs, the things that he's doing to pad the stats a little bit. And I hate to call him a stat padder because I think he's fighting out there trying to get it back on track. But a lot of those completions you guys gave to him was based off of soft shell and allowing that, right? And everybody's saying, Justin Fields, he kind of caught fire towards the end. Did he? I don't think so. I think it was
right.
I think it's Dallas at 10-2, eyes on the road. Hey, we're not gonna let this thing get off the rails. We'll make them work and burn out the clock, and effectively, that was I think the game plan. Once you guys hit that 23 before the half, that was pretty much I think the marching orders moving forward. Hey guys, let's not get too crazy. The only way we lose this game is if we beat ourselves.
Yeah. When you go into halftime 23-3, you were basically 15 yards away from being 10-10, and you go in at halftime 23-3. Wow. The same play that the Cowboys completed to Ferguson was the actual play that they were trying to run on the 2-point play. Remember when Dallas scored the first touchdown, it was 9-3, and the Jets were offsides, so the ball was at the 1 yard line, and the Cowboys were going to try a 2-point conversion. but the Cowboys also jumped off sides and therefore a false start. And so therefore they weren't able to try the 2-point play. That play, Shoddy saved to use for that goal line play that Ferguson got. And that's what I love. This guy is playing chess out here. He's putting together a drop, and he's seeing what the defense is doing and remembering it and saying, we can come right back to this later on and just hang on to that, kind of put that in the golf cart, in the 9-iron, and kind of save that for later and break that out for a special occasion. And it worked out beautifully, and so the Cowboys go in. The only thing that went wrong that half was Brandon Aubrey missed the extra point because it was a personal foul, so it ended up being like a 40-something yard field goal, 50-yard field goal for 1 point, and it hit the goalpost. Yeah, that's like the worst thing that happened in the first half right there. So we'll take that one.
Hey, when you really look at it, and I call it a get right game. If you could write a script for how you wanted to go, that wasn't a bad one. That was the perfect script. Yeah. You saw some positives, like I say. You saw your defense get some stops and get off the field. You saw your offense really impose their will and make plays and honestly, I think the Cowboys needed. Sometimes you need to see the ball go through the hoop. You need a little confidence. Yeah. And I think being able to put together a solid first half really helped with the confidence and going into that second half, and it's going to propel you throughout the season.
I think so. I think this was a nice way to kind of get stabilized a little bit and see if the Cowboys can make a little bit of a run. So you're going up at halftime. It's 23-3. You come back, you get the ball back, and so now you really can put the game away with one drive. You go down, score, make it 30-3. Unfortunately, the Cowboys were not able to do so. They had to punt, and then they held on defense though, and they forced the Jets to punt. The Cowboys had 5 sacks coming into this game, and they ended up with 5 sacks during this game. And so, I got a theory for you here about defense and how it should work, and you can tell me if this makes sense. Okay, I'm talking about pass defense here. Okay, not the run. The Cowboys gave up some runs, but they were also playing a cover 2 shell look. They wanted to make sure that there was nothing going to be over the top. With Wanya Thomas back there, they just wanted to make sure that they used Donovan Wilson in the box and then nothing over the top. So they kept that shell look. But what they did was they mixed it up on defense with some stunts and some games because the Jets struggled up front to deal with twists and stunts and replacements and loops and stuff. So those types of patterns really were effective. But let me ask you this. Let me say this: is when I look at a pass defense, you basically got 4 to 6 seconds if you're on offense, and that's what you're trying to complete a pass in. The first 2 seconds, the responsibility is on the secondary. If you're in the secondary and you can't hold your water for 2 seconds, you're going to die a very slow death in that game when a quarterback can literally get rid of the ball in 1 to 1.5 seconds and someone's open.
Right.
So you have to be able to cover for 2 seconds. The next 2 seconds is on the front 4, front 5, the front. Right. If you're on the defensive line and you can't create any type of pressure within 3 seconds, that's bad on your end. That's where the defensive line has got to start to put some pressure, because you cannot expect the secondary to hold their water for 3 and 4 seconds in open space with all these guys running free if the quarterback is confident. So the 3 and the 4 seconds belong to the defensive line.
Correct.
And then the 5 and the 6 second, that's the middle of your defense, the heart. Because if you get to that point, if your linebackers can't help your secondary in coverage to bracket, to come in, to rally and tackle, then you're going to have issues when the quarterback gets the ball out, because the odds are somebody will have gotten open if the defense didn't get to the defensive line. So you got a 6-second situation. First 2 seconds, secondary. Next 2 seconds, defensive line. Last 2 seconds, linebacker in the middle of your defense. That's my theory on how your defense needs to be built to be able to cover. And the only way is if you have a defensive lineman that can get pressure, i.e. Michael Parsons, in the first 2 seconds, that's like a cheat code.
No, that's a great
cheat code.
No, that's a great theory. And I played quarterback most of my life before I switched over to receiver. And you're exactly right. Those first couple of steps out of your drop back, if it's not play action, right?
Yeah.
Or if it's just a shotgun, you really are, it's the alignment and then the disruption of your secondary and linebackers to try to disrupt timing. And that's why you hear, announcers, they talk about that all the time. They secondary disrupting the time and they really getting up into guys, slowing things down.
Your 5-yard pushing. Just
to, give that defensive line a chance to do their part in the next, 3-4 second time frame. The great quarterbacks are getting that ball out at, 2.6,
that's right.
2.5. You get some of those guys who, like you said, you start getting to that 4 or 5 second. In most instances, you're dead in the water as a defense just because the guys are too talented in the NFL. But you're right.
That's right.
With your shell, the Tampa too, and again, this is what we talk about. And what Flukes is trying to do is get you to throw the ball to certain spots, right? And
that's right.
You don't throw the ball to that spot. To dictate it. And it's a passive aggressive defense where I'm trying to get you, if you don't take that check down immediately and you stare at that 10 to 15, that intermediary or that deep route a little bit too long, that linebacker is going to close on that check down to where it's a 1 or 2 yard gain, right? So you don't get anything. So I think that's a great analogy. I've never heard it put that way before. But at the end of the day, we talked about your pass rush growing and being able to, kind of adjust to life without Micah, because when you got a Micah, what people don't understand, and you get guys in free agency and you're like, man, this guy came, and this on this team, he had 15 sacks or 10 sacks, and then comes, I use Sweat. So Sweat Montez for the Bears, he was a pretty, high volume sack guy, and he gets to us and everybody's like, man, he's disappearing. But that Washington Commanders D line at the time, they had 3 first rounders. They had
Jonathan
Allen. They got all of these studs. So really, you only having to beat one man, right? As opposed to dealing with 2. So I'll say this: I did see the TE stunts in the stunt games. Allows you to circumvent the offensive line being able to, just hold you up, certain guys and hold you up. And I thought Flukes did a really good job of throwing those stunts in. And he also dropped, and it wasn't just secondary screaming blitzes. He walked a linebacker up, and at the snap of the ball was just well timed, and he get him to occupy the center. And once you occupy the center, everybody else got to hold their water, right? I think the guards got beat to death by some of those actions that you had, those games you played up front. And I was really, like I said, pleasantly surprised. Flukes saw the same things that we saw. I got to get my pass rush going. The strength of your defense actually lies in your secondary, right? And then Sanborn went down, and it was kind of the gift and the curse, right? Thick neck Sanborn, another former Chicago Bear, who's a great run stuffer, who's a great intelligent guy. His foot speed is the greatest. So whoever replaced him, I think, was a little bit quicker. And
Leopold, and then the rookie Shamar James out of Florida.
There you go.
A lot of speed.
Yeah, I just think you guys look a lot faster, and it's not a knock on Sanborn. I just think it's a kind of similar to the first game. Yeah, it's the style, the first game of the season when you're playing against the Eagles, and Jalen Hurts on that critical, kind of game closing drive. He he breaks out and Samuel, he can't do nothing with him. He just
Yep.
doesn't have the athletic ability. So great analogy. I agree.
Yeah.
The question is, where that theory and things get a little bit, might change a little bit. And this is the key. This is why so many, and we talk about systems, and we're going to talk about systems. That's why Sean McVay goes under center, right?
Yeah.
To give you that, you can run that tight end, that TE stun if you want to. If I run a wide zone and catch you in it, now what happens? Or you playing you stun in the wrong hole, and now, and I fan my line. Now I got another 4 seconds to pick you apart downfield because your guys are just out of position. That's the part where being able to dictate that, and when a team goes one dimensional is critical, and you guys actually executed that. And Justin Fields, his processor, I hate to say it, it's a tick slower. And he just wasn't.
He can't keep his eyes up. He can't keep his eyes up.
Can't keep his eyes up. And he's also, I think his natural inclination is to look for more of the intermediary routes. And you guys, and Flus knew that. And that's what we talked about. That was his second game against one of his former quarterbacks. So he knows all the dirty little, all the skeletons of what Justin Fields struggles with. And I thought he called a really, really good defensive game to really hone in on making Justin Fields either push that ball down the field or he was going to check it down.
Yeah. And that's why we have on our header, is the Cowboys defense find a little bit of an identity and turn the corner, or is it just that the Jets are just a bad team and they just don't execute very well on offense, and you have a quarterback who is still just not very good at processing and stuff. So it's probably a little bit of both. I'd hate to knock the defense and say that they didn't play better, because they did. They did play better. They got 5 sacks. They created some havoc. They had some coverage back there, and so they didn't give up the deep balls. So they definitely played better, but it's definitely a work in progress. But you mentioned those trade-offs of Leofau, who had penalties last week and was very sloppy, but he's a talented, explosive player. And Shamar James, who he had 15 tackles, but most of his tackles were because they were dump offs, and he would close to the ball and make the tackle. He still got to make a tackle, but he wasn't making a tackle for a loss or in the box. But by the way, he's fast, he's explosive, he hits hard, and you can make up for a multitude of sins if you have that type of speed and talent. And I think the Cowboys came into the season saying, hey man, let's go with the guys that we know that's going to be a system guy that's going to be able to execute what my game plan is. But the reality is if you want to get better and be better later on, you're going to have to get some of these young guys in and get them to grow. And you're probably gonna be better off and have to deal with some of their mistakes. Now, I don't care who you are, penalties and bonehead plays are unacceptable. You've been playing football your whole life. You can't do that. But you're gonna have to live with some missed tackles or some overshoots on some blitzes or some overruns and stuff like that in order to get these guys to play, because they're so much more talented and so much faster and stuff. So I agree with you 100%. You can almost see the difference when those guys came into the game on defense. And
it was huge. And we talk about it, time on task, right? And you with the new rules and regulations around off-season programs, a lot of these guys, when they do come and you get those coaching changes in the off-season, you need guys who know your system, right? And the live reps in preseason you're not showing your best stuff in preseason. You're very vanilla. And then you roll into the season and, there's a delicate balance of how you work these guys in. And unfortunately, you got to live through the good and the bad. Some guys pop and they don't make mistakes and, they kind of fit in seamlessly. And then you get other guys who time on task, as they do, as they get more and more reps, they get better and better. Trial and error. And like I said, no knock on Sanborn. I think he gives you guys a
floor.
He gives you a floor. He gives you a glue guy. He's not going to be out of place, but he's also, limited in some of the things that you can do schematically.
Yep.
And once, unfortunately, he got hurt, and I never want to see anybody get hurt. But again, the depth that you talked about on the offensive line, you're starting to see some of that coming to play in your, on your defense. And that's what jumped out to me. I was like, man, the Cowboys just looked a lot faster. And then I saw, those guys running around making plays. And I'm a firm believer, as the NFL season is so long, and as fans, we get, we have very short leashes with guys and pull this guy, yank this guy, bench that guy, because the margins are so thin. And when you lose a game, it feels. 2 weeks ago, I had thrown Tyreek Stevenson. I'm about to trade him. I'm about to cut him. And now
DJ Les.
DJ Les. I'm sorry, DJ. I owe you an apology, man. at 22 million, at 23 million a year, man, I'm good.
That's tough, man.
I'm gonna raise my mic. I love you, DJ Moore. DJ Extra.
Yeah, man. But you're right. And that's the thing. It takes time to cure and develop with some of those guys. But you start to see those steps. Now, if Overshown was healthy, he probably could play with Sanborn, and because of his speed and athleticism, Sanborn would probably he would look great, because he's just in position and he's kind of like sitting there because of Overshown's explosiveness. But without that, you really got to have somebody to make some plays. And so you go with these young guys, and maybe you hope that maybe by the time Overshown comes along, those young guys will settle in there. You got 3 of them.
I guarantee this. Mark my words. I don't know what timestamp is. 46 minutes. And if and when you guys make the playoffs, and you see these young kids popping off the tape and we see it every year, right? There's guys in the playoffs because of the attrition of a long season. You see a bunch of guys and a bunch of names that don't look familiar to everybody else. They're familiar to us because they are our teams. It's going to pay dividends, huge dividends. And again, these Jets games, like you say, did we discover an identity, or the Jets just bad on offense? You know what? I thought about it. Who cares? Right?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Every time you win a game, every time you have a positive rep, all of these
so hard to win.
NFL. It's just hard to win, right?
It's hard to win a game, man. Ask the Jets. They know it's hard to win a game. No one will lay down and let you win because they're having a bad day. If they lose, they trust me, they did not try. It is just not how the game is too hard. So,
and we watching the Commanders this weekend. They screaming down the field. Justin Herbert steps up in the pocket, throws a dart to Johnson. They up 10-0. He catches the ball, gets sandwiched, fumbles the ball, and from there everything snowballs. Right?
Never scored again.
So you looking, we have all these. Like I said again, we're critical, highly critical of did we find something? Did we not find anything? But hey, man, that when you get something, these guys are they're just like us. They seeing positive results from your hard work makes you more confident. It gives the coaches more confidence to put guys in position to make plays, and that's really what it's about. Being able to stack, good wins, good reps on top of good reps, and get positive results. And the Jets, honestly, they're not bad at Brees. And again, similar to the Bears in the Dallas game. You guys don't fumble. If Pickens doesn't drop that ball, everybody we talked the next day, and all we heard was how the Cowboys sucked and they're the worst team in the league. And I'm like, whoa, what are you talking about? I'm not.
They didn't watch the game.
I'm not saying it because we got the pod together. I just saw something different. At the end of the day, those plays, had they been made, that game would have been much closer.
It's been changed again, and that's many of the games in the NFL. That's why very few teams are favored by more than 3 points.
Right.
You have very few times where you have more than a 3-point favorite, and so here the Cowboys are just kind of wrapping this game up. not getting too far in the weeds, but they're up 30.
Before we wrap up, man, I want to talk about cold sauce, man. So you got to talk to me about this play where I call him cold sauce, mild sauce.
I heard soy sauce today.
Duck sauce. Teriyaki. I don't know what. I have never seen a corner fight so hard to grab and clutch the whole way. And Pickens did a masterful job, man. He tugged his shirt. He grabbed at his hands. He grabbed his jersey. He grabbed his shoulder. And he still got beat. And he didn't take ownership of getting beat. And, you know, Glenn, and we talked about this defense and, you know, what's wrong with the team and the culture. I don't think Sauce is going to stick around in New York much longer with Glenn at the helm, just because of his inability to, he needs leadership. And when you're trying to establish a culture, if you don't have accountability and leadership, it's not going to work. So what do you think about that play with Pickens and Sauce?
You know, I look at the big picture here, and the big picture is the game was 30-6 at this point. Mm-hmm. So the Cowboys have scored again. They're up 30-6, and it's pretty much, you know, kind of curtains at this point. So now we're just kind of looking to see if the Jets can do anything, if they have any fight left. At this point, the Cowboys are playing a little bit different style of defense. They're not taking any chances when it comes to their situation. They're trying to make sure they keep everything in front, because basically you're dealing with the clock now. Right. Third quarter, going to the fourth quarter, the clock is against the Jets as long as you don't give up anything fast. And so the Jets score a touchdown, and I think the score is down 30-14, and there's still a decent amount of time left in the fourth quarter. So, you know, the Jets are saying, okay, look, we scored 3 touchdowns, 3 2-point conversions, et cetera, et cetera. We can tie this game up. Doing the math, I don't see the math, and I don't do the full math on it. But at this point, you know, the Cowboys really did, at this point, they're just probably looking, hey, can we just move the ball, get down the field, and get a field goal and kind of stymie the situation, mm-hmm. just kind of keep everything on track and keep everything on schedule. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Dak catches, you know, because Sauce has been basically on, I think, every play but 2 plays or something like that. Sauce was pretty much covering Pickens on every play. You know what I mean? He was shadowing him. He basically was following him, trailing him every play. And so they were going back and forth. But Dak Prescott was not going to force that issue to Pickens. He didn't feel like he needed to force feed him. He was just saying, look, Pickens, I need you to make 2 or 3 plays in this game that's difference maker. You know, and he caught a big first down, and he went and got isolated on Sauce, and he just released and just got on top of him. He got on top of him, and once he got on top of Sauce, just like you said, it was hand fighting back and forth. And the referees weren't going to call that, because you got Sauce basically trying to get a pass interference, and Pickens trying to keep him at bay. And the thing is, these are 2 of the more long, you know, lengthy arm, long levered athletes that you're going to find. I mean, Sauce is a good 6'3" with long arms. These are all arms and legs. And Pickens is like, I'll see your 6'3" and I give you a 6'4" with even longer arms and legs. Right. So they're basically hand fighting down the field, but Dak just throws such a good ball, man. And all of that hand fighting, you know that's going to affect the speed of Pickens, his stride, and Dak just drops it right in the bucket. Yeah, I mean, he didn't even have to jump or fight for that ball. It just landed right in his hands. And that's just Prescott is just dealing right now, man. He is just playing such a high level of football, and he recognized as soon as he started, it was over. Yeah, I'm as a, you know, the receiver in me, and the quarterback in me, I always get excited when I see those type of connections. Go back and look at the protection too. I thought it was creative. Again, you talk about your OC with his creativity, with his blocks in the run game. Look at the creativity
on that blocking scheme within that pass game. It was such a great pocket, and Dak saw the same thing that you saw, and you can tell Dak's been working on his craft, man. Sometimes quarterbacks, there's different types of throws, and that's a throw where you're really putting air under the ball to give yourself to give your wide receiver a chance to adjust, and honestly, underthrowing that ball is just as good, just because the DB's most of the time is going to run into him and you get a pass interference. But
he's been doing it all year. He's been getting pass interference all year.
Yeah. So he threw that one, and I would just again, I'm watching Sauce, and like I said, he knew his beat and he grabbed the jersey. He started to the DB trick of grabbing the hand and grabbing at your elbow to break your stride. He went in every toolkit to try to get Pickens to slow down, and Pickens is so big and so strong to where he caught I want to say Sauce right in his shoulder, or kind of and it knocked him off balance, and it was over. And the ref let him play it out, and I was like, okay, that's what it's supposed to look like. And the ball was so soft, it dropped in. He kind of miscaught it a little bit and pulled it in right before he got to the ground. But I thought that was just, again, we talk about CD being out and developing relationships with different receivers and understanding how to get the ball to different guys. And that was a prime example of, utilizing Pickens for a kill shot. I call those the kill shots. Those are the daggers where you send people home, and fans get their sodas, they get their hot dogs, they eat them up, and they start heading up the top,
Let me call this Uber.
Yeah, let me go ahead and try to beat the traffic. So because I think
get out of here.
That put you guys up 30-0, and the rest of it was mop up time. So
that was 30. That was 37-14 at that point. I think is what that was, and that was curtains at that point. So this game represented a lot of things, and I've been watching the Cowboys for a long time, and the way that they played, and I want to speak on this, and you can certainly chime in. But when you look at teams, and I've seen this team over the years, there's been times when the Cowboys have had good football teams, and they've had good talent on the football teams. It's funny because Jerry Jones is a general manager. He doesn't get a lot of credit for putting together talented teams. But honestly, that's what the Cowboys have had when they've had good teams. They've had better personnel than other teams. They haven't had holes, but they've had better personnel. You look at some of these teams, that Dak Prescott team back in 2014, man, you're talking about a future Hall of Fame offensive line, a tackle, a guard, an all-pro center, an all-pro wide receiver, an all-pro running back, a Pro Bowl quarterback, and a first ballot Hall of Famer at tight end. I mean, dude, that's bro. Of course you're gonna win 13 games. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I want to speak on this team. This is one of the first times I've seen in a long time where Schottenheimer coming in is creating something different, and he's creating a system that is different. When you talk about big games and the playoffs, they always talk about, well, what travels? Defense travels, your running game travels. Well, I'm here to tell you that the system is what travels. And system stands for, we're both Navy guys. We do a lot of acronyms. System, saving yourself time, energy, and money. When you have a system, what you do is you take away the importance and the dependence on the talent of your team and focus on the execution, the scheme, and the communication and the way the team is put together. And that is what's sustainable. You want to know why San Francisco can play against the Los Angeles Rams without their quarterback, without two receivers, with just Christian McCaffrey, and your quarterback that you have as your backup, Mac Jones, has a bum knee, and they're dealing out there.
Right. Because
the Shanahan system affords for him to plug in talent and execute the offense regardless of whether or not you have the better players. Now, if you got the better players and you got the system, you're going to dump truck teams.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no doubt about it. You're going to dump truck teams. But the NFL is an attrition league, and
Right.
when you get to the top teams, they level the playing field with talent.
Right.
And therefore, you need to be able to plug your guys in and execute in a way that gives you an advantage. And that is what I am seeing with Shadar. The reason why he hired Flus isn't because Flus is some all-world, defensive coordinator. You know what I'm saying? He isn't the next, coming of,
Buddy Ryan
or Wade Phillips.
Lewis. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All of the names that you're going to talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that, but he has a system that he plays that you can plug the guys in and that you can keep the game under control. And that even if you don't have all of your pieces, you can execute. And that's kind of what happens when you get to the playoffs and you play against teams. You don't have your full complement.
I give you a prime example. So that's a great system. I love the acronym. You gave a great example of San Francisco being a team that has embodied that and who's leaned into that the past few years, right? Purdy, Mac Jones, Garoppolo coming there and do well. How did the Ravens look this weekend, right? So Lamar Jackson pulled his hamstring. Cooper Rush looked very, competent last couple of years in Dallas, backing up Dak. And he goes into, Baltimore, and it just doesn't work, right? They get boat raced by the Texans, and there's a lot of other things going wrong with the Ravens. So I'm not going to sit here and get too much into it. I'm going to speak to it offensively. They couldn't even find their head from their tail, man. They couldn't. The plays are different. The strengths of Cooper Rush is completely, the antithesis of what Lamar does.
That's right.
And I think what you're referencing really is, the great teams and the teams and we call it, constantly getting those bites at the apple. There's only one team that wins the Super Bowl every year. So there's always 31, teams that's striving to try to recapture that feeling. And if you look at the Super Bowl winners, it's even less, right? So how do you manage
stay in the fight?
Stay in the fight. And like I said, these seasons are long, 17 games, and the war of attrition. How do you kind of close that gap? And I'll say it from a Bears standpoint. We don't have the talent, right? So we played without the system, and it yielded very negative results for you guys. I think Shotty and Flus, the marriage makes sense. You have a very efficient, explosive offense, and you have a defense that, at its core is meant to create turnovers, to, bend but don't break, and get the ball back to the offense. And
opportunistic.
So when the system is, and this is, again, it tilted a little bit against the Jets, you're not going to always get this. But I think, this is what it's going to look like against most teams once you guys get up and rolling, because you guys only need, a couple of stops for Dak and that offense to really, jump on you and force you, on the offensive side for the other team to get out of your game plan, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, you're right. I can see the shift happening. The first game against the Eagles, to me, was the clear indicator of the vision. It just didn't yield a positive result. And that's the other thing as fans. Sometimes we get caught up in just the wins and the losses as opposed to thinking, 15 games ahead, 16 games ahead to when you get to the, where it's going to come into play again. Like I said, a wild card game on the road when the ball is cold and the field, is it ain't pretty out there.
And you got guys injured because it's the playoffs and people are out.
Now let me see you throw the ball all over the yard. Let me see you drive 80 yards without mistakes. Let me see you, show us that you can put together 15, 12, 11, 13 play drives without a penalty, without a turnover, without a mistake.
Yeah.
And you Cowboys are saying Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, Ferguson, and Dak are less mistake prone, and you throw Williams in there with a running game, and you guys kind of
Yep.
snuck Blue in there too. So
Yep.
again, the chances of you guys being successful in a system is greater than some of these teams that are dependent on the talent,
Yep.
because injuries don't care about you.
Nope.
Weather doesn't care about you. If you
Nope.
can find a way to minimize the thinking out on the field and you just kind of reacting to your system,
Yep.
you generally get great results. And that's why teams like the 49ers, the Packers, I hate to say it, they're another
Yep.
team I look up and I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, this is another year where, they don't look like they should be in here, but they made it to the second round of the playoffs, and
Yep.
they're a game away from the NFC Championship,
Yeah.
Or, now Detroit, they're the team where the talent has met the system, and
Yep.
you like, Jesus, everything they do, again,
Yep.
looks so crisp and so efficient just because they
Yep.
got really great guys executing that system.
Yep. And that's exactly what Ben Johnson, who just left Detroit, is hoping to do in Chicago to marry his program. He's trying to build a program, and have not just something that, hey, this works because I got freaking Rome Tuesday and you don't. I got Caleb Williams and you don't, because that's very fleeting. And the other thing is you go up against, I don't know, the Jacksonville Jaguars and their defense, and they're like, okay, you got Rome. Here comes Travis Hunter. Good luck.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And the Cowboys have been in so many games where last year, the 2 years ago, they went to Arizona, for instance, right? So you had Trayvon Diggs went out that week. He got injured his knee. He tore his knee at practice. And then you had offensive lineman, two offensive linemen out, and then another one ended up not being able to play in the game. So you had 3 offensive linemen out.
Right.
Cowboys couldn't do a damn thing against Arizona. They couldn't do a thing. They didn't even have Kyler Murray in that game. He was injured too. The Arizona Cardinals, with Clayton Adams, by the way, running the ball, just looked more prepared than the Cowboys did. And the reason is simple. They didn't have a system that was in place. They had a series of plays, and if those plays depended on the best players to be dominant and execute. And if you do that, then game in and game out, you can win a lot of games. But what do you do when those guys get injured? Right. When they can't play, or when something goes wrong? That's the difference right there. And that's what I'm hoping that I'm seeing. Is early, so I don't know, but I'm hoping that I'm seeing with Shadi is he's implementing a program that is useful and able to be executed regardless of whether or not you have the talent. And then if you have the talent and the players on top of that, then now you really have something that you can really sustain, and you can roll. And so that's what I really, I got out of this game. Just not just looking at the score and the box score, because to me, the biggest thing that I saw was you have all these offensive linemen out, you got offensive players out, you have your receivers out, and it didn't look any different. It didn't look any different.
Nope.
Now you can't take the quarterback out, and you have your fifth string offensive lineman, and you have no receivers. At some point, you had what San Francisco had last year. They literally got wiped out like the bubonic plague, and at some point, you just can't recover, right? But outside of that,
no, I hear you. I'm gonna say this though, and one thing that wasn't spoken about in that Packers game, you guys did a lot, and I know again, Pickens is a great wide receiver. I just think in that Packers game, it showed me that, you guys are really putting together a system, because you don't score 40 points when your receiver goes down like that,
right?
And make it look the way it looked.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get in those situations and you can have a great system, but you just don't have the talent. And I think the play calling strength of Sean, that's what's impressing me too. It's been impressive for a while. I've been saying it for the last 4 weeks. I think he's just really in tune, him and Clayton Adams, with calling really smart games and putting certain guys in the right position. And you're down Turpin and you're down CD. And I know as an offensive guy, when you lose two of those guys, those are CD's a route technician. Turpin's is a speed guy, and then he's also
he's kind of the critical guy because he's so fat. He has such speed. Every time he goes in motion, every time he does a yo-yo, every time he does a route or something, he grabs the defense's attention. Correct. And so because you just can't let him slip away because it's like six if you don't. And so without him, the defense is like, oh, okay, they're slower now. They don't have it, you know what I'm saying? So they're not gonna be able to. And then here comes Ryan Flournoy and just eat you up for 100 and some yards just like that, like nothing, you know. And it's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and that's my point. I think the even though the Jimmy and Joe's change, well, Jimmy and Joe in the case of Turpin and CD, what didn't wane was the results, right? And then it wasn't. It might not be as explosive, but it's not that much of a drop off, right? When you got guys who know what they're doing it fast, and Dak, you could tell he put time on task with not just the main guys, and that's what frustrates me in the NFL. A lot of times, only certain guys are getting reps, and then they'll say it in the broadcast. Well, this certain player, he hadn't really got reps in practice, and I'm like, how? It's so much time in a day, how are you not getting reps with your second and third string, wide receivers or some of your practice wide receivers in season? And I can tell the Cowboys have been working with everyone with Dak because you don't get efficient like that without that happening, without that work being done. Before.
And to your point, in the post game press conference, they asked Dak about Flournoy, and he said, Flournoy, this guy wants it so bad. He wants it so bad, and he said, I had conversations with him when we would go down to Atlanta in the off season, and he told me how much he wants to be there for me, how much he wants to support.
I had no clue. Only reason I knew is by the way they played.
The chemistry.
The chemistry. You don't throw a deep crosser the way he threw a deep crosser to Florida, and it was early in the game. But I saw that. I said, that's all I need to see. They've been working together.
Yep. And he's a third string special teams guy, one of the fringe guys. But they knew he was talented. That's why they drafted him, even though he went to a smaller school. But they knew he was talented. Yeah. He's got all of the tools, and he's got an NFL body, and all of the things that you're supposed to have, but it just needed to develop. But the point is, just like you said, there is so much time during the regular season, during the off season. If your quarterback is worth a thing, he's going to work with all those guys because he's not going to be able to sit there and say, well, as long as I got CD, I'm good. You don't know what the season's going to give you. You don't know what that is.
Ever. And if you assume that, shame on you. And that's whatever what I call, whether it's the chemistry, whether it's the hard work. I saw it in the Packers game, and I saw it in the Eagles game, the Bears game. It got off the rails a little bit. I think at least for me, that was a game where you needed your defense to step up, and when it got out of hand, it kind of threw your balance.
Remember, that's the game that CD got injured in.
Correct. So the like you said, the mindset of flipping that game plan and being ready for it wasn't probably in place. But again, systems. I'm a fan of it. I'm a strong believer that when you look at the Chiefs, when you look at the Packers, when you look at, I throw the Ravens in there.
Yeah.
I throw the Steelers in there. You look at how those teams continue to be.
At least defensively.
Right. When you look at how they continue to be successful, and what we call, being able to get on the bus and have a shot at winning the championship year in and year out. And the names change. I guess the ancillary names change and kind of, every year you see that kind of take shape and reform itself. But the results are pretty similar, at least in the what I call the regular season and how you're competing. But from a true analytical standpoint, I can definitely see you guys buying into the systemic style of football. And Jerry said it. I think we laugh about it now, but I think the Packers game broke his heart in a way that opened his eyes to say, hey, we're doing things the right way, but we're putting a lot of damn eggs in these players' baskets. The ones stay healthy or play really, really, really well. And there's certain things that the other teams can take away. And you talked about it earlier, which is the pass rush. If I can negate your best pass rusher, and now I get a chance to get to your secondary or run the football on you, that's not helping either. So I would rather go through the growing pains of trying to implement a systemic defense early on to when I get in the playoffs, you can't really hone in on one guy to really shut us down. And the same thing offensively.
That is correct.
Now, I'm looking at a game plan when you play the Detroit Lions, when you play the Kansas City Chiefs, when you play, at the time to pay, you didn't know who was going to kill you. It was just a matter of how do you deal with the onslaught of all of these damn weapons. But at the end of the day, I think you guys are in a really great spot. You got Carolina, who coming off an emotional win over the Dolphins, right? They just beat the Dolphins. They're feeling good.
Fighting Rico Dowdles, man. The fighting Rico Dowdles had 200-something yards rushing, but he coming for the crown on us, man.
Xavier Leggett, he eating squirrel and raccoon right now, just getting ready for the Cowboy game. Talk to me a little bit. We'll probably do another show preview for the Cowboys Panthers, and then the Commanders and Bears. Man, that's a revenge game in the dish. Best dessert, best served cold, man. I'm ready for that.
I need y'all to show the F up.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. We'll be there. Ben is a madman. So the next couple of days, I'm gonna take a look at a couple of things. I'm going back to look at the Detroit and Washington playoff game. I get a chance to see how Ben kind of look, with Dan Quinn and that whole
thing. Look good.
I know. So I want to see some of that. I went and pulled I went to go pull some tape on the Saints Commanders. I don't know if you remember that game. They won at the buzzer to try to see if I could get some old kind of a feel for Allen. But Dennis had gotten let go in early October. So I'm not going to spend too much time there. But I will say this, man, for that game, we're coming off 15 days, man. By the time we get to Monday night, it'll be 15 days. I like our chances. I think the Commanders they run the ball really well. Can't take that away from them. The question is for us, can we stop that run? We're getting healthy. I think we'll roll out a couple of guys that'll help us, be stronger against the run.
Yeah.
I just feel like the Commanders are such a damn lucky team. I don't know what it is, and maybe it's they found a way to figure out this magic in the end and win a lot of close games or flip games, and but again, that's a game where I can help you out and get you guys.
Well, look, the Commanders play after they play Chicago, right?
Who do they have? They got the
They come to Dallas.
Oh, okay. Well, we can help each other out. We can take a toe. We can take an ankle. We like Denzel said, we leave it here with something. Somebody. Somebody limping back, but
you walk over, you limp back.
Yeah, I've had to pull my emotions down. The competitor in me is at an all-time high right now because I think that's the game, and it was a blessing in disguise. If that game hadn't happened, maybe we don't get Ben Johnson. Maybe we don't make some of the fundamental changes within the organization that we needed to get better. So, from that perspective, it was a silver lining. But at the competitor in me, I went and I got so much chirping from people talking about how Daniels outplayed Caleb that night, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like this, and it felt like what was supposed to be Caleb's moment and the catapult for him into the 2024 season.
It got undermined.
Oh man,
that Hail Mary.
Yeah, Caleb been buying drinks for all night, and he's ready to go. And just when we pull out our phone, here comes Jaden Daniels come up and grab our best friends, and they kind of go off to the side. He's like, "Hold on, is she talking to him?" Like, he got the number. Next thing you know, man, they on IG and they a couple. And oh Lord have mercy, man. He stole a lot of
stole spotlight, man. He stole the spotlight,
and that left a bad taste in my mouth. And so I'm looking at that game as and honestly, I'm looking at that game as what I call a statement game. You saw the Jags; they went in and they took it to Kansas City. Liam Cohen, quiet as kept. He ain't messing around. You look at Vrabel, statement game. They went in there and they beat Buffalo. The Bears, we've done it against the Raiders, and not saying I'm not happy with that victory. All I'm saying is it's time for us to get one and get a few against some teams that are talented and are on the up and up to
playing well.
Start playing well, that are playing well for us to take it to the next level. So to answer your question, we definitely show up. I'm really, really, really confident that you're gonna get the best version of us. And we left a bad taste in our mouth from a prime time standpoint. That opening night, Sunday night game against Minnesota, where we really we could have stamped and put a check.
Yeah, you got to get that one back, because that's that game for y'all is like the Chicago game, for Dallas. It's just like or the Eagles game for Dallas. Like, man, you I would say more the Eagles, because y'all kind of blew us out. But you have one of those games where you get like the Eagles, and the same thing with the Vikings. You're like, bro, we had control of this game. This game was there to be taken, and you just kind of faltered down the stretch and stuff. And so you got to get that one back somewhere.
Yeah, in prime time, and we've had a horrible track record here the last few years of playing poorly on prime time, and Ben said it, last week. That's the narrative. If you give the Bears enough rope, they'll find a way to hang themselves, and they'll find a way to blow it. And they're soft mentally, and this is a game for us with the world watching to let everybody know that we're contenders, right? Not Super Bowl contenders, but the tide is shifting. So I'm really excited about that. So I'm trying to stay even keeled. I don't want to get too high, too low, or start seeing ghosts a little bit too early. But we're definitely going to be ready for that game on Monday night.
Yes, sir. Well, this horse is dead. This game is behind us. It's tomorrow's Tuesday, so I think that tomorrow's the off day, and I think the players just kind of licking their wounds and kind of get healed up and stuff like that. And for you guys are probably on a different schedule because you're coming off the bye and stuff. But it's time to start to move forward. You get the dub and move forward and get ready for the next week, man. So we wrap this one up. Cowboys win 30.
You guys at home, or you on the road?
We are on the road going against the Carolina Panthers. So Carolina got a big win, and they're moving. They're starting to settle in and become a little bit solid of a team. Tedero McMillan is a dude over there at wide receiver. The Cowboys were going to draft him, by the way.
Yeah.
We're happy with our pick, but he wasn't available. So yeah, they started to move in the right direction there that the Carolina Panthers did. So we'll get into that later on this week. We'll probably do a preview of Bears, Washington, and Cowboys, Carolina, and get to that. But yeah, that's all I got for this one. Lot of good things there out of this game. Trying to lick wounds and get healthy and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
moving on to the next week there.
Yeah, I think, as a fan, you should feel good. First quarter of the season down. Saw you got a chance to see the team improve in some areas that you wanted to see improve from early in the season. Season's still young, but
Yep.
I think with the level of talent that you played, you guys didn't have many cupcakes in there, right? So
Yeah.
to come out where you came out on the other side and the season's still full ahead of you,
Yeah.
and it looks, like I say, looks promising with your offense and your defense took a step in the right direction. I think you guys in good shape.
Hope so, man. Hope so. But we'll be here no matter what. Win, lose, or draw. We will be here to discuss and give feedback. We always appreciate the audience. We're trying to grow, and we will continue to do so. For those of you who are getting this feed later on, just remember to like, share, and subscribe if you like this type of content. We are at HM Sports Academy, at HM Sports Academy for most of your major platforms, from Facebook to YouTube to Instagram, X, and so forth. So we are moving along. I certainly appreciate all of you out here. For myself, for Harry, I am Mo, and you all have a great evening. We'll wrap up and call it a night.